You walked into that room full of people, music playing, laughter everywhere. Someone handed you a drink and said, "Isn't this great?" And you smiled and said yes. But somewhere deep inside, a quiet voice whispered something you've never said out loud. You have never felt more alone in your life. And here's the part that really gets you. You were perfectly fine at home, alone, peaceful, almost happy. But the moment you stepped into that crowd, something heavy landed on your chest and wouldn't move. If that feeling is familiar to you, stay with me, because what I'm about to tell you isn't just about loneliness. It's about a very specific kind of mind, a very specific kind of person. And there's a real possibility you've been misunderstanding yourself for years. Let me tell you about a woman named Sara. Sara is the kind of person who can spend an entire Saturday alone and feel completely at peace. She reads, she thinks, she doesn't feel like something is missing. She feels whole. She makes herself a cup of tea, sits by the window, watches the rain, and genuinely enjoys it. But then a coworker invites her to a birthday party, and Sara, not wanting to seem antisocial, says yes. She walks in, the music is loud, the air smells like perfume and beer, people are clustered in groups, laughing at inside jokes she's not part of. She finds a corner, she checks her phone, she smiles at a few people. She has 3 conversations, all of them about nothing: the weekend, the weather, some show everyone's watching. And by the time she gets in her car to drive home, she feels something strange. Not tired, not overstimulated, just hollow, like she came home with less of herself than she started with. She sits in the dark parking lot for a moment and thinks, "What is wrong with me?" Nothing is wrong with her, and nothing is wrong with you. But here's what most people get completely backwards. They think loneliness is about being alone. They think if you surround yourself with people, the ache goes away. So they go to the parties, they fill their weekends, they say yes to every invitation, and the loneliness doesn't go away, it gets louder. Because loneliness has almost nothing to do with the number of people in the room. Psychologists define loneliness as the gap between the connection you have and the connection you actually need. It's not about how many people are around you. It's about whether those interactions feel real, whether for even a moment somebody actually sees you. And for people like Sara, like you maybe, the quality of a connection means everything. The surface level stuff doesn't just feel boring, it feels like a slow disappearing act. Every small talk conversation chips away at something. Every "so, what do you do?" feels like a door that opens into a wall. You answer, they answer, nobody goes anywhere. And you stand there, surrounded by noise, and feel completely invisible. There's a concept in psychology called depth sensitivity. Some people's brains are simply wired to process the world at a deeper level. They notice more, they feel more, they think more. Not because something is wrong with them, but because their nervous system picks up on subtleties that other people walk right past. The almost sad look in someone's eyes, the tension underneath a joke, the hollow sound of a laugh that doesn't quite reach. These people don't just want conversation, they need resonance. They need to feel like the words being exchanged actually mean something. And when they don't get that, they leave feeling like they spent hours trying to connect through a thick pane of glass. This is not introversion, not entirely. This is what some researchers call existential loneliness. The feeling that even when you are technically with people, there is a version of you that nobody in that room has ever actually met. Because here's the part that stings. Most people like this are actually fascinating conversationalists when given the chance. They are warm, thoughtful, genuinely interested in the people they love. They are not cold, they are not broken. They are just operating on a frequency that most casual social settings don't transmit. And so they learn to perform. They learn to laugh at the right moments, to ask the questions people expect, to fill the silence with pleasantries.
They get very good at looking connected while feeling completely alone. And that performance, that daily, exhausting, invisible performance, is one of the loneliest things a person can do. The most dangerous form of loneliness isn't being by yourself, it's being surrounded by people while performing a version of yourself that none of them would recognize if they saw you at home on a quiet Sunday afternoon. Think about someone who has dozens of acquaintances, people who smile when they see him, people who include him in group chats, but he goes months without a single conversation that goes below the surface. Nobody asks him what he's actually afraid of. Nobody seems to notice that he's been quietly falling apart. He tries the party, he tries the gathering, he shows up, he smiles, he performs, and every single time he drives home feeling more empty than when he left. But then one night, something different happens. He ends up sitting with one person, just one, and somehow the conversation turns real. They talk about regret, about what it feels like to grow up and realize life is shorter than you thought, about the small moments that change everything. They talk for 3 hours. He drives home that night and he doesn't feel lonely at all. Not because the crowd got bigger, because finally someone heard the signal. They don't need many people, they need the right people. One honest conversation can undo months of that hollow feeling, but 100 shallow ones can deepen it. The very sensitivity that makes them feel so lonely in crowds is also the thing that makes them capable of the deepest connections human beings can have. Their ability to feel deeply, to notice everything, to have a conversation that actually goes somewhere. That's not a flaw in their design. That is the design. The problem was never them. The problem was the setting. They were walking into rooms that only played one frequency, and they were wondering why their whole self couldn't hear it. So first, stop treating your solitude as a symptom. The fact that you can be alone and feel at peace is not something to fix, it is a resource. Most people spend their entire lives running from silence because it terrifies them. You know how to sit in it. That is power, not damage. Second, get honest about what you actually need. Fewer connections, but deeper ones. Less noise and more signal. One person who actually knows you over 20 who only know your name. And third, give yourself permission to leave the rooms that drain you. There's a difference between solitude and loneliness that almost nobody talks about. Solitude is chosen. It fills you. Loneliness is unchosen. It empties you. You are allowed to know the difference and act accordingly. Because the version of you sitting quietly at home, thinking too much, feeling everything a little too intensely, that version is not broken. That version is just waiting for the right conversation. And when it finds one, something settles. Something that has been tight and restless and hollow for a long time finally goes quiet. Because you were never too much, you were just in the wrong frequency. And somewhere out there, someone is broadcasting on yours.
Like to learn more about human psychology? Like, comment, and share this video. Subscribe my channel now. Thank you for watching.